So good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to continue today, or no, can't say really continue because I really never got started last Wednesday because I was having trouble importing files into the version of Photoshop that I have on my computer. I thought I was up to date, but I guess there's one more version that I had to, more recent version that I had to update in order to be able to do what you're supposed to be able to do with the files in here. So to give everybody an idea of what this assignment is that first off, in order to see the timeline below when you're editing video or creating a slideshow or whatever you want, you need to make sure that you have the motion desktop selected. Because if I go back to Essentials or any other one, that timeline goes away. So I'm going to go back, select motion, and now you can see here are all the individual clips on one layer. Here is another type layer that's been added. Here is a sound layer that's at the very bottom. And you can see the entire timeline. We can see a playhead. So notice that if I start at the very, I can scrub through the playhead. I can also rewind, or I can play. There you go. Fun music, huh? Anyway, you can add MP3 files for sound. A good program on the Mac to edit those would be GarageBand. And then in, this in Adobe Photoshop is, as I may have mentioned before, is a pared down version of their Adobe Premiere, which is their premier editing, video editing program. Okay. So up here we have our, our play buttons and rewind and that sort of thing. We can add transitions and we can splice video, still images, and we can, add music down here. You'll also notice that I have the timeline stretched out. That's what this little button is down here, or this little slider. That if I want to condense it, I can do that. But notice that I can't see the individual clips very well. And then as I slide it across, it expands. And depending on the size screen that you have, you might want it even larger so that you can, see each individual clip a little bit better. But that is what we're going to have to work with today. So this is the finished version. And you can see that in looking at the individual clips here, we can, go to any point in the timeline and you can see that we have still images, we have video clips, we have a combination, and a variety of things have been done to them. Pretty much anything that you can do with a still image, you can do with video in Photoshop. And that means adding adjustment layers, that means adding filters, any number of things over here. And so if you look at layers, you can see each individual clip and you can see that they are presented in the order that they are here. The first one is at the bottom and the last one is at the top. And you can rearrange them from here, or you can rearrange them in here, which we will do shortly. So I can take one of these, for example, and I could just move it over like so. And it also changes it in the timeline as well. So I'm going to undo that, bring it back, because it does screw things up, and you have to be careful when you do all of that. So let's start with a brand new file. And they've provided all of the content for us. So I'll select File New, and I'm going to select Film and Video. And this is the new thing that they've added that I didn't have before. They have all these new templates that you can work from if you like to get you started. We're just using an empty or blank template right here. And what we want is the HDV and HDTV video 1280 by 720 pixels. So this is the one that we're going to select here, not the 1920 by 1080. Over to the right, Orientation is all automatically set to horizontal. Resolution, because we are working in video, is 72 pixels per inch, which is kind of nice. So our file sizes are small, but where it does take a lot of computing, a lot of processing power is when you render the file, because you won't be able to burn a CD with a Photoshop file. That won't work for you, or you won't be able to upload it to YouTube or any of your social media projects. It could be Instagram or whatever, that you use. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and create, and it will create an automatic size. There we go. As I said, it puts in here these little safe lines so that anything contained within the inset one is for sure going to be presented. Anything in the intermediate area could be cropped, and anything outside of that almost definitely could be cropped. So you have to be careful. So these are the safe areas that are automatically provided for you. So the next step is to import the files that you've already prepared. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. It says create video timeline, and that does. So it automatically adds a soundtrack, and it adds a blank little video clip here that we'll delete in just a few minutes. So what I want to do now is I want to click here, and what I want to do is I want to add media. Boom. Now you can add them one at a time, or you can add them in groups, and that's what I was trying to do the other day. It wasn't allowing me to bring in the video, and I'm crossing my fingers, and I'm hoping that all of it will be brought in today. There are 6 separate files that they want us to include. 2 of them are movies, so they're .mov movies, and that's QuickTime movies. You can also bring in MP4 files if you want, and I'm bringing in JPEGs. Okay. So I've clicked on the first one, held down the Shift key, selected the last one, and notice that they have numbered them, because this is the order that we want them to be presented. Now you can always shift them around, but it's nice. It makes it easier if you know in advance what order you want your clips to be arranged, then just number them this way. So I'll go ahead and I'll click open, and I'm going to cross my fingers, and hopefully everything imports. And there we go. It works today. Last Wednesday, it did not work. But again, you'll notice that we have all of these, but I can't see what's going on here. So I'm going to go down at the bottom, and I'm going to use the slider and maximize it so I can see a little bit better what's going on with this. This first one that I said that they use as a placeholder, I can just select and delete. And then I still have a little bit more room. So I'll go ahead and I'll stretch it out just a little bit like so. Okay. So the next step, what they want us to do is they want each of the clips to be 3 seconds in length. And there's an easy way to do that without, in a non-destructive way, that you can clip from the front end or the back end of a still doesn't make any difference, but from a video clip. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to click on the back end of each of these. And when you try that yourself, you'll notice that it will, there's a little change in the icon, and I can click on here and I can drag. And as I drag, a little pop-up window appears, and I want the duration to be 3 seconds. Okay, so when I get to the 3-second mark, I release the mouse, and there we go. So for still images, they're automatically 5-second increments. If they bring it in, it can be longer, shorter, because it is a still image. For video, you cannot increase the time, but you can certainly shorten it. So when I click here on the back end of this, to shorten this, okay, notice how I can scrub through that, and I can click. And you know what? Let me go ahead here, and I'm just going to click on this back end, and I'm going to do it differently. If I click on this little arrow right here, notice that the duration is 10 seconds. Well, I'm going to make the duration 3 seconds instead. So that's another way. And you can speed up or slow down the video. So the next one, Dog Beach, same thing. I should be able to move over here, and I'm having trouble seeing. There we go. And while I'm dragging it in, you can see the video. I'm just shortening it until I get to the 3 second duration. Not the end in 10 seconds, because that's the end of the video. But if that was important to you, it would be. Right now, I'm just looking at the duration of each of the clips. And I want it to be 3 seconds. So you can do it either way. I can click here. And that says no motion because it's a still image. So let's go back here again. And I'll just shorten it to 3 seconds. So the remaining 3 images are just that, still images, they're not video. I've really never experimented with this with anything longer than what the lesson has provided. I don't know why. I get the sense that really editing video in Photoshop is really only meant for social media, you know, short little things. And that's about it. So I'm going to change the duration again to 3 seconds. And when I've shortened all of these, and again, by shortening the video, it was non-destructive. I can stretch this out a little bit more so we can see what's going on in all of these. There you go. So the next thing, when you import the JPEG files, they are cropped. If I go back here, you can see that there are the images of a full, you know, a family of 4 here. But when I'm looking at it here, you see that it's cropped. So there's a kind of an awkward way that we have to change this. So what I want to do is I'm going to select this particular video. I'm going to make sure that I twirl down so I see everything down here. And I'm going to click right here. And notice that I can add a motion effect here. And this is kind of weird. What I want is to select pan and zoom. And I want it to resize everything. And as soon as I do that, notice that it resized it to fit. But because I no longer want pan and zoom, I need to go back and I need to select no motion. But it leaves the video or the image in its fullness and its, you know, complete state. I'm going to do that for the remainder of these as well that are still images, so that we can see them in, you know, complete. So I click on this little, make sure that I select here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this one. So I close that one. Whoops. Oh, come on. I don't want to add video. Close the video group. Select this one and open it back up so that this is highlighted now. And I come back under here. And again, I don't want that. I want, oh, this is, I'm sorry, this is a video clip, so I don't need to change that. It's this one. So it's this one I need to change where it says no motion. I need to do the same thing. So to see what's going on there, I'm going to go ahead and scrub over that playhead. Okay, right here. Again, another still image, but I want to see what's going on here. So I'm going to come back here, and where it says no motion, I'm going to go ahead and select pan and zoom, and click off to resize. Click off of it, and you can see that it was just, it didn't change much. But what I can do now is I can go back, and we're going to use pan and zoom for this later. Okay, so let's go back and let's close the video group for here. Let's click on, let's close this one. There we go. Got this one. Let's go back here. Got to make sure that every time we start, especially when we start adding keyframes, that you see the little colored position, opacity, and style affected down below. So I'm going to select this one. and do the same thing. Go ahead and click. This is a still image. And I'm going to select pan and zoom, resize, make sure that that's selected. And it resizes it just a little bit. And then I'm going to turn off pan and zoom so that there's no motion. And then do the same for the other one. So I've got to select this to close it, select this one, and then open it back up. A little tedious here. And I'll do the same thing. Move the playhead so I can see what's going on in here. It's a little sunset scene. And again, to make sure that they're all sized correctly before I begin anything else. So I started by making sure all the clips were the same duration. Now I'm making sure that all the still images are being viewed full. And this one didn't change at all. So again, just to be sure, let's go ahead and select no motion. There we go. Now let's go ahead and close that and open back up. And I'm going to go ahead and move back over to the first one. And what we want to do next is we're going to animate some type. So if I go back to the finished one, we can see that if I scrub through here, it says beach day. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the type tool. And notice that it selects Harrigan, or let's see what we have here. We have Myriad Pro regular 600 point. So that's the type, the font that we're using, the size, and we're also adjusting the opacity. So it's only 25%. Remember I said you can do with type, with images, with video and stills, whatever you do with a regular still image that you plan on printing. So let's go back to this one. So what I need to do now is I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. And what I want to do is I want to create a new video group. And this is like creating a new layer on top of that. So what I want to do is I'm going to select type. And I'm going to go ahead and click anywhere on the screen. And I'm going to type in caps, make sure that it's white, that it's Myriad Pro, regular 600 point. I'm going to type in beach day. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the checkbox and I'm going to select the move tool. And I want to make sure that the playhead is at the very beginning. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to twirl down where it says video group 2. And now we have transform, opacity, style, and text warp. These can all be animated over time. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to move this in position like so. Now, if you're not familiar with some of the terms that are used like keyframes, they are terms that are used from traditional animation. A keyframe is where anything significant, a significant change takes place. So this is where I want my type to start, and I want it to go across from stage right to stage left. Okay, so all I have to do is I have to now select the little transform button, and notice that it adds this little gold diamond shape underneath. So I've added a keyframe here. This is where I want it to start. Then I move my playhead to the very end. And now I want this to move back. But I only want this to move, so before I move that, I want this to just be over the next video clip just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shorten it just a tad. So it's maybe a little over 3 seconds. And so what I want to do now is move the playhead to the very end. Like so. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move the type over to the, whoops, I didn't want to move that. I want to move the type. Undo that. There we go. I want to move the type over to the left. So I hold down the shift key so that it stays in place and it, remains horizontal. And I move it to the very end, like so. Now notice what it did here. It added another keyframe. So to see if this thing works, we go ahead and we scrub through this. And you can see that it changes. Okay. Pretty cool. So we can go ahead and we can close that up for video 2. We're done with that. And what we want to do next is let's scrub over Dog Beach. Is that we want to add, in this particular instance, we're going to add an adjustment layer to this. We're going to add black and white with a little bit of tint to the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and move over the beginning of the playhead, or the head, beginning of the video with the playhead. And I'm going to twirl down and I'm going to select this group. So let's go back up, make sure that this one is selected, because it will affect, if you don't see these little bars at the bottom, it's going to affect the other clip, not this one. So you have to twirl it back up and then select it and then twirl it down. So again, I want this to happen over the duration of the entire clip. And with this one selected, Dog Beach, I'm going to go ahead and select black and white. And then I'm going to go ahead and select tint. Okay. Now let's go ahead and scrub through that and notice that I've added a tint to the whole video clip. Now, if I wanted it to transition over time, as opposed to be a black and white and tinted video for the entire duration, then I would have to add keyframes as we did for the type, and then we could transition from color to black and white. That's used for a number of effects, which are pretty cool. Okay. So the next one, I'm going to go ahead and twirl that back up. I'm going to move this over. We're going to do this one. And this one, we are going to add a motion effect to this one. So I'm going to go to the beginning of this clip, make sure that that clip is selected. So they're just having us, try a variety of things to each clip, see what you can do with it. So I'll go ahead and I'll twirl down, make sure that this clip is selected. And then I'm going to click on this little button right here we had done before where I said no motion. Well, I want it to pan and zoom. Okay. So let's go ahead and add that. And notice it added for the entire video clip, it added that motion effect. So that as I scrub through this, not only does it pan, meaning go across, but it also zooms in as well, just a little bit. Now, if you wanted that to happen over a shorter period of time, I could go ahead and I could move the end keyframe. I could also stretch the length of this still image out. Okay. So there's a variety of things that you can do with this. So the next one now is we're going to have this guy move over time. We're going to have him start at the bottom and then have him transition and move up over time. So I'll go ahead and I'll select the video group again. And at the very beginning, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move him down. So I'll hold down the Shift key and bring him like so, as I use the move tool to move him down. Now what I want to do is I want to select the transform again to add a keyframe. I'll move the playhead to the very end. Okie doke. And now what I want to do is I want to move him up so that he moves over time. So you're taking a still image and you're animating it. So I'll go ahead and I'll click and I'll drag and then hold down the Shift key so that it goes straight up. I'll take it up to here. Notice it automatically added an end frame here. Okay. So to be perfectly honest, I'm trying to remember with the last one here. Let me go back here and look at the end one here and see if we added anything at the very end. They did add pan and zoom to the last one. So I will go back and do that one. I thought that was the case, but I'm going to go ahead and select this clip. Okay, move the playhead over it so I can see what's going on. And then to the entire clip, I'm going to go ahead and add pan and zoom to it as well. So to each of these, both the stills and the videos, we're adding different effects. It's the boat that the only thing that we did was we cut it down from like 10 seconds to 3 seconds, and that's it. Okay. So again, over time, it pans and it just moves a little bit. So if we, go through the whole, scrub through the whole thing, we can see what our video, how it's coming together. Okay. So the next thing that we want to do is that at the moment, our video is coming along pretty nice, but if we were to play through this, and there's no sound yet, but if I play through this, notice that it just jumps from one clip to the next. And we want a softer transition between them. So what we have up here are a handful of transitions that are available for us. And they can be any length, but since our videos are our clips are very short, they will probably be 1 second increments. So you can fade, and you can fade to black, you can fade to white, you can fade to a color. But what we're going to use for each of these is a crossfade. So it's very easy. You just select the crossfade or whichever transition you want and drag it between the video clips. And now watch when we go through, and as I scrub through this, notice how just right in, as I'm completing the still image where we're starting, that the video is starting to fade in as the other fades out. So we're going to do that for each of the clips. Okey-doke. So that's pretty easy to do. So we just come back over here. We again select crossfade, and we just drag it in between each one. And here we go. Now that I've kind of technically shortened everything, is that I can stretch this out again just a little bit more, see what's going on. I can also move this a little bit shorter. So maybe into there just a little bit. Let's scrub through to see what we've got here. No, I guess I should undo that. Let's make that go back there. Yeah, that works better. So it's into the second video before the title ends. So we've got a couple more things to do. What we should do is we should have, at the very end of our video, we could add a fade to black. So when we scrub through this, rather than have it end with the video itself, we can have it fade to black. So I'll go ahead and I'll do that. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that, and I'm going to put that over the very end. And let's see, that should be about, if I double click on it or right click on it, right now it's 1 second. I'm going to check the time for what they have here and see what they have. They have 0.87 seconds. So I can do that. I can come back here, and I'm going to right click on there, and I'll put in here 0.87 seconds. Okay, so it's a little bit shorter. Let's scrub through here so you can see what happens, and notice that it fades to black. So you could have credits at the very end of your video too if you wanted to, but they don't have us do that. And then the last step. no, this will be kind of a short demonstration today, we're going to add sound to this. And we're going to edit the sound, and we're going to add fade in and fade out to it as well. And again, very simple. I click on the sound layer down here, and I want to add audio. They've already provided it for us, and it's the MP3. Okay, it's the beach song, little banjo music. And when I click on there, you'll notice that the sound is much longer than our video. It is way, way, way longer. So what do you do with that? You either have to edit it somewhere else, or the option that we have, because it's not critical where the sound ends here. If it was important that the music ended with your video, then you would probably want to do some editing in another program in advance. But because it's not that critical for us, I can click the playhead and move it to the very end here. And that's where I want my sound to end. So now I use the little pair of scissors here, which allows me to cut that. And notice that it just cut it. You can do that with the video clips as well, but because they're pretty short, you don't want to do that. And now your video, when you render it, will end as soon as I delete this extra sound at the very end. Okay. So there's two more things that we need to do, or three actually. I need to add fade in. I'm going to make it fade in 1 second. And I'm going to make it fade out 5 seconds. So let me go ahead and here. And this is where you can also add the volume. So I just want 1 second. And we'll make it fade out. If I remember correctly, it's like 5 seconds, or maybe not. That doesn't sound right. I'll put 2 seconds. What the heck? It's something you can always change. Okay, so let's see what we have. And then there's a couple more little things that we need to do. So let's go ahead and move our playhead at the very beginning. Just like scrubbing it. I'll play it, see what we have. Now, you'll notice that sound was included with the video clips. Well, there's a couple of ways that you could work those. I can select each of the video clips, and I can click on the little button right here. Whoops, wrong one. This one right here. No, 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 come on. There we go. Duration 3 seconds, and that's for the video, but you'll also notice that there's a button right here for sound. So if I wanted to leave the sound in, I could reduce the volume, or what is selected for us in this particular lesson is to mute it altogether. So it's not a permanent change, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we've got that video selected. Now let's select the other video, and I'm going to click on the end of it. Whoops, come on. Come on. It's giving me fits here. There we go. So, no, I didn't want to resize it. I just want to, do I have the right clip? Oh, I don't have the right clip. No wonder. I'm sorry. I have to go back with the dog. That's the one that I wanted to. No, come on. There we go, the dog. Select the audio and mute it. So I've hopefully muted both. I'm not sure that I have. Let's select this one. No, I didn't. There we go. So let's play it through one more time. And hopefully we don't have the boat sound and the sound of the beach playing behind us. And go ahead and play through. So there you have it. We have created a little video for ourselves. The next thing to do would be to save this. So I'm going to save this as a working file. This is up here, put this down here, save on my computer. And hopefully it's saved there. I'll name it working file 2. This will be working file 2. Okay, so it is saved in the same location as the rest of them. We're almost done. The last step that we need to do in order to be able to use this video, to be able to burn it on a DVD, incorporate it with other video editing programs, or to upload it to YouTube is the following. We go to File, and we go to Export. And what we want down here is to render video. Okay. This pops up. Now there's all of these settings that we have. We're just going to use format H.264, which is kind of the default. It's good. Document size is what we started with. If you need it smaller, you can make it smaller or larger. We want it high quality. But you'll notice all of these other options that are available for you here. You can also determine the frame rate. So if you want, the standard is 29.97 frames per second. If you need it to be, 30, 60, 50, 15 frames per second. Typically don't need to do that anymore. You could do that. If you want to start the frame, if you didn't want it to start at frame 0, you want it to start at frame 10, and you want it to end at a specific frame, you could do that. You don't have to render your entire video, but we want it to be the entire duration of the movie. And then you go ahead and you just click render, and we're done. And then you'll have an MP4 file that you can. This is typically where large videos, files take a while to render. And so that's when you need a computer with a lot of RAM, a lot of storage space, and a video card that allows you to speed up the progress of all of this. So that's pretty much it. When it's all done, hopefully I can show you what it looks like in playing it just by itself. There we go. So now what I can do is I'm going to go to Bridge, which I've already opened. I'm going to browse in Bridge. And you can see that I have the .mov movies, but I also have, for this, we have the MP4. So here's the one that I just saved. So I'm going to go ahead and to play it in QuickTime, I'm just going to double click on it. And I can go ahead now. So this would be the movie that you upload to or burn to whatever DVD you want. And that would be it. Okie doke. So that is that. Let's bring this back. Do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions about the movie poster? This Wednesday, I was planning on critiquing movie posters. Got a handful of them. That you should, if you turned it in the other day, if you turned it in today, it hasn't been graded. If you turned it in by Sunday, I did grade them. So if you want feedback on your movie poster, please let me know, and we'll be critiquing them on Wednesday. I also plan on showing you samples of digital paintings that hopefully will be inspirational for you. Yes, the question from Umberto is that if you want to improve your grade on your movie poster, can you change it and resubmit it? Absolutely, until you have until the last regular week of class to do that. We have, including this week, I believe 7 weeks left. Not that much more time, so sounds like a lot of time, but we have the digital painting to complete and your final assignment, which will be retouch and restore. So we'll have a few weeks on this, and a few weeks to do your digital painting and a few weeks to do your final assignment. So in that time, the remaining weeks that we have left, if you want to, if you can't meet at the designated time that we have now for our critique, email me and let me know a time that works for you. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons are good at 2, or Fridays will work as well. Just let me know, and I can, critique your work on individually. Okay. So if there aren't any questions, we're done for today. That's it. We only have one more lesson to do, and then there will be a series of videos that we will be watching on retouching and restoring photographs that are fairly complex and a little bit more advanced. But I encourage you to watch them and to pay close attention. Depending on the image that you choose for your final assignment will determine which of these, and maybe, features or you'll need to use in order to retouch and restore your photograph. Maybe a lot, maybe, hardly any. But it will give you, a lot of extra skill level, raise your skill level in working with Photoshop by doing these. I don't think retouching and restoring photographs is necessarily fun, but it does test your skills and knowledge to use in Photoshop, I think, quite a bit. They're already, the ones that we watch are from lynda.com because I cannot publish them on YouTube. I put them up on Canvas, and so the ones that I used from last semester are already there. So, but we will be watching them in class as well. So for those of you who want to join us, you can, and if you don't, it's okay too. Okay. So that's it for today. I will go ahead and say goodbye, and I'm going to pause my recording, and it will be up on YouTube within the hour. Okay. So bye-bye, unless you have questions. Do you have questions? No? No questions. Okay, well, I'm going to pause and say goodbye.